Stick around after our discussion as we will be interviewing Director of Live Deaf and Mini Golf, Randy Kent. Hi, welcome to Wigging Out, the podcast where we discuss each other's wigs and watch Kristen Wiig's filmography. Today, EJ Lee is wearing a brown wig fashioned slightly like a Mohican. You could say, does that have product in it?
It kind of stands up on its own.
Oh, so is the wig made in that way to have the Mohican style?
Yes.
Oh, that's really interesting. Oh, I like that. Because sometimes you mess up the wig with like some product and it's unfortunate.
My co-host Chay is wearing a wig of deep burgundy. It is floor length and very thick, almost like a curtain.
That's actually funny you say that. I did fashion it from a curtain.
Really?
Yeah, I went to a gentleman's club. The British posh kind, not the American stripper
Not the
kind.
LA kind, great.
And there were some drapes there.
Oh.
And I took them. And I'm not allowed in that gentleman's club anymore.
It's very Sound of Music of you. Repurposing old drapes. Yeah, it's a common theme in movies, but particularly in The Sound of Music.
Do you think that theme may appear in today's movie, Life, Death and Mini Golf?
God, I hope so. That'd be such a twist.
Let's talk about Life, Death and Mini Golf.
Okay.
Life, Death and Mini Golf has been lost for many years by film scholars. But the film scholars that have talked about it have raved about it. Fortunately for us today, it has resurfaced on Amazon for the bargain price of $23. So we are fortunate enough to watch this film today. We may even review the special features.
Yes, there are many. Most notable is Chapter Index.
I look... Because I mostly watch films with a video and VHS player. So I always like to see when there's a chapter index.
Yeah.
I feel like cinemas can't offer chapter indexes.
Yeah.
My videos can't offer chapter indexes.
Blu-rays sometimes don't even offer them anymore. It's a lost art, really.
A good chapter index can really elevate a film.
I agree.
So I'm looking forward to that.
What year is it from?
The year is 2004.
Oh,
it says on the back of the DVD.
Relatively recent.
So Life, Death and Mini Golf is by Randy Kent. The brief synopsis, as the DVD describes it, is: after the suicide of rock star Kent Ramsey, bandmates and old friends are suddenly reunited and forced to deal with the past, future, and maybe play a few rounds of golf.
I like the maybe on whether they play rounds of golf. I'm really hoping that they don't, and that it's just not even mentioned, and it's just kind of a tease for the DVD back.
Maybe it was a tease for the sequel? The long-awaited sequel?
Could be, yeah. The first one is just Life, Death, and then the sequel is just End Mini Golf.
Right.
And they're just kind of getting you ready for that idea.
I hope they do play golf. This is where me and you the cracks may break in our podcast hosting relationship.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough divide to bridge together. I don't know.
Because I want to see Kristen Wiig hold a golf club.
Yeah, you do have a weird thing about that.
I like to see her using two hands.
Yeah.
I don't like one hand acting.
No, yeah, sure. What kind of club are you hoping to see? Do you have a specific variety?
I think the level of acting is what corresponds to what golf club you use.
I agree.
Bill Murray, quite an accomplished actor, now uses numerous amounts of golf clubs.
Yes. Frequently seen with a driver.
And Tiger Woods was a great actor with his wife. Knows how to use many of golf clubs.
Yeah, most, I would say.
Most golf clubs.
Yeah.
Accomplished actor means you can use as many different clubs you want.
Yeah.
This is Kristen Wiig's second film, and I believe she might actually be in this film this time.
Yeah.
What do you expect from her first performance?
I expect to see her face. I kind of expect to hear her voice, but it wouldn't be a deal breaker if we didn't. But primarily, yeah, I expect to see at least 3 parts of her body on screen. Hoping for 2 limbs.
I'm hoping for 2 hands.
Yeah. You gotta think about the hands, yeah.
2-hand acting would be good.
2-hand acting and a golf club thrown in, yeah.
Between those 2 hands.
Mm-hmm.
Betwixt her thumb and fingers.
Yeah.
A golf club would look great.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't say no to that.
Well, let's watch Life, Death, and Mini Golf.
Let's.
Please pause the current podcast you're listening to and insert the movie Laserdisc. Once finished with the film, please return to this prestigious podcast.
Welcome back to Wigging Out. We hope you watched along. EJ, do you want to give a brief synopsis of the film?
Oh, God. A man dies. He commits suicide. He was a drug addict who was a frontman of a band in either Georgia or Florida. And it's about his friends and his wife coming together for the funeral and the weekend they spend together dealing with the death of their mutual friend.
So, Kristen Wiig fits into this whole scenario. She is the cousin of the deceased.
Yes.
As well as being the ex-wife of the deceased's perhaps former best friend?
Hard to say. Former band member, for sure.
Former band member who no longer talked to the deceased in his final years of living. So, let's first just rate Kristen Wiig's performance, and then we'll talk about the nitty-gritty of her role.
Yeah.
If you were to describe her performance, the volume of the wig, much like your Mohican, what volume would you give her hair?
I would give her 10 wig hairs.
10 wig hairs. So the volume of the wig hairs, are they coming out quite large?
They're curly.
They're curly.
Yeah, it's a blend between the two. They fall, but they're curly, so there's a bounce to them.
But they're not quite reaching your Mohican level
no.
right now.
Kristen Wiig gets 10 wig hairs for this film.
10 wig hairs.
What do you think about it?
I would say it's her first real role.
Yeah.
Although we had suspicions about Mervyn Goes to Dinner, about her role in it, this one it was definitely clear we saw her face and limbs as we both wanted.
Yes.
I saw her two-handedly act with a golf club.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the way I would have liked. I would have preferred... She was using more of as a leaning post.
Yeah.
I would have preferred...
She did swing it once.
But I don't think it was off-screen.
Yeah, it wasn't full-bodied. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was disappointing.
Disappointing for sure.
But she was really competent in her one-on-one interactions with people, I believe.
I agree. It did seem very well done in some cases.
I know I've seen some of her later work.
Yeah.
And I know you've seen some of her later work.
I have.
She does really shine in kind of dialogue scenes between, people.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good for an actor.
Yeah.
For her to be able to interact with someone.
Yeah.
What she may not be as good as, the first time we're introduced to her, she finds out the death of her cousin.
Yes.
She is on the phone, drops it, and shakes her hands and puts her face into her hands.
Yes, it wasn't ideal. But to be fair, no one in that sequence had a natural reaction.
That's true. They all looked like they were doing bad auditions for a David Lynch film.
Yeah. That's an accurate characterization.
Kristen Wiig also did have a big helping hand, I think, with her main co-star, her new husband, Phil.
Yes. Some of our viewers may know him as Kyle from Parks and Rec.
And some, I hope, will soon know him as Phil.
Yes. Wonderful character.
Wonderful character.
Genuinely wonderful character.
Just a saint. Just a nice guy who is in a group of assholes at this funeral and knows exactly what to do.
Yeah. He's just great throughout the whole thing.
He's caring, he's supportive of everyone, he helps out. Kristen Wiig is sometimes annoyed at him because he plays too much golf.
Yeah. A thin storyline for sure.
Do you think that was Kristen Wiig's idea, or do you think that was the director's idea?
I feel like it was the director's idea only because I could feel that there wasn't a lot of golf involved in this film, and it seemed like perhaps he was trying to bring more in order to live up to the prestigious title.
There was a good amount of mini golf in 20 minutes, much to your dismay.
Act 3 was mini golf.
I guess we may find out if it's the director's idea. We may be speaking to him later on in this podcast. Kristen Wiig's hair is short.
Speaking of hair, it is an unusual haircut for her.
I don't think I've seen it this short in anything else. She's usually got it long.
Yeah, it's borderline pixie cut, but spikier. A little bit spikier. Am I right in characters?
It's definitely what I'm going to wear next week as a wig.
Yeah,
in tribute.
I'll be able to describe it more in full for that introduction then, and the viewers will be able to visualize it.
Yes, I really liked Phil. Did you like any of the other characters?
I liked Kristen Wiig's character fine. Phil was the best one for sure. The other ones were relatively unlikable.
Skull seemed like he might have been from a Kevin Smith film.
Yeah.
And the rest seemed to be from a dream.
Speaking of fever dreams, what the was the ending of this film?
Now, we should say spoiler warning.
Yes.
For all those people who are going to seek out this film.
Which I recommend.
I recommend too.
It's an interesting 2 hours.
The film begins with a woman reading tea leaves, and inside the tea leaves there's a circle of the next frame, and it goes into that.
Yeah. Although it does
circle and transitions.
The very first thing we see is the title, Life, Death, and Minigolf. And it zooms through the dot in the eye.
So
into that tea leaf thing.
It zooms through the dot in the eye, then zooms through into the tea leaves.
Wait, no it doesn't. It zooms into drums.
Oh.
Remember?
Kind of.
When's the tea leaf thing?
It was a long time ago.
Tea leaves are either first before the title card, or they're after everybody learns he died. It would make more sense to put them before.
I think, it's the eye, everyone learns.
Yeah.
And then it zooms into the tea leaves, and then zooms into a set of church doors, and then the funeral begins.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig gets to act as the disapproving ex-wife as her husband comes in all wet and doused.
Yeah.
With sprinkling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of physical comedy in this film, which is very odd for the tone of the film.
Yeah, I kind of can't find the tone sometimes.
Yeah.
But we should finish the tea leaf thing. So, we see the tea leaves, and then every so often throughout the film, probably like 8 or 9 times, it cuts to a scene with a fortune teller turning over a tarot card. And it's never addressed or explained.
The tarot card usually corresponds with like what is about to unfurl in the next scene.
Exactly. It's never addressed until the very, very last scene after the resolve of the story. It comes back to the fortune teller who is sat in front of the deceased person, Kent. She's reading his fortune, and he takes off his shirt, which is an indication of deciding not to use drugs, and then it zooms into his eye.
And then zooms out of the eye into a credit saying a Randy Kent film.
Yeah. But what this means is that the whole film was just the fortune teller laying out this boy's fortune if he were to take up drugs. And the end is him deciding not to after hearing what his friends go through.
Yeah, and his friends go through a lot, but in the end, they all end up happy.
Yeah. Arguably actually the wife does end up happy.
Yeah, everyone ends up happy.
Yeah. So it's a strange ending.
Yeah, I'm glad he chooses not to die.
Yeah.
But also, everyone does end up happy, so what is the filmmaker trying to say?
Yeah. Very odd ending, for sure. It's a lot of mixed messages, but that's kind of interesting. It kind of negated the point of the entire film.
But the point for us was to see Kristen Wiig.
Yeah, so mission accomplished there.
Yeah. Now, if someone read your fortune, EJ, and told you what was going to happen in this film, would you have still watched it?
Yes, but not at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Currently, we're recording this late at night.
Yes.
Some people can handle Kristen Wiig in the day. So we have burrowed away in hiding.
Yeah.
So our love for Wiig and wigs can stay hidden.
Yeah.
I don't like to feel ashamed about this, but sometimes society forces you to feel that way about Wiig and wigs.
Well, I'm here to support you in that.
Thank you.
So don't worry.
That's very kind of you.
Yeah. Sure, our listeners do too.
Yeah. Thank you, listeners.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
We appreciate you. We want you to know if you have a choice between life, death, and mini golf, choose life, because in life you can play mini golf.
Actually, if you could choose between life, death, and mini golf, what would you choose? Tweet us.
Do we have a Twitter account?
No, I was just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
Tweet us at Life, Death, and Mini Golf.
Or if it's there, at Wigging Out. If it's been taken by someone else, well, that's unfortunate.
Or you could always send a nice letter or a card in the post.
Not to us, just generally.
Yeah,
it's nice.
It could send it to anyone, doesn't matter.
Friend, family. Write home to your loved ones. Don't ignore them, because if you ignore them, then you may end up only seeing each other after the death of someone and then getting into weird arguments.
In a mythical future being told by a fortune teller.
Nobody wants that.
No one wants that.
Write letters.
Write letters. This week, we're sponsored by the UK Postal Service.
The UK Postal Service can send your letters with expedience. Emails, aren't they a thing of the past? Hillary Clinton. If only she sent post by UK Post.
Learn from her mistakes. Support UK Post.
Please open your Skype application and pretend with us you are interviewing a film director.
We're here with Randy Kent, director of Life, Death and Mini Golf. So Randy, how did you come to make Life, Death and Mini Golf?
Well, I had the idea because it's loosely based kind of on the Kurt Cobain story. So, like, not long after, his suicide, I kind of started having, ideas about the, like how a fictionalized version of what the film would be based on that. So over the years, I started, kind of writing it in my head. And it wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles that I actually, when I started writing and making films, that I realized that, I could actually pull this off. I could actually do it. So I started writing it. I kind of wrote it as a short story. And then I got I contacted my friend Andy, who plays Phil in the film. He's a good friend of mine. I kind of told him about the story. I said, hey, I'll help you write it. And then he recruited someone he knew called Krista, and she was kind of a writer. So we recruited her. So the three of us basically spent 6 months writing it, off and on. kind of fleshing out the screenplay. So that's how the overall film came about. And then at some point, we kind of put it away because we didn't really think we had the money to do it. And then at some point I just decided, hey, let's just shoot it. And we recruited all of our friends to kind of do it and be in it. And that's what you see today.
How long did it take to do the actual shooting?
We shot it in, I think it was about 15 days, or 15 days total. So I think it was like 12 days. It's mostly that you saw it takes place in the house, and there's like a church scene, and there's a mini golf scene. So it was a 12-day shoot, and with like a couple of days of pickups, we had to reshoot the shed scene. There was some issues with the first time we shot it. But yeah, we shot it in 12 days. So it's a very quick shoot. I mean, we were working, 12, 16-hour days, and we just all huddled up into that house, just shooting and trying to make it work. So it was very short, it was a very small budget and very short shoot. I financed it myself. I paid for it with credit cards and cash and everything else, and everyone kind of pitched in, and it was very kind of a team effort between all of us.
So even though you were huddled up in the house, there wasn't any on-set drama like there is in the film?
No, not at all. Like everybody, I met all these guys through, because I do improv, or I used to do improv comedy, so, Kristen is, and Andy, like all of us kind of, we're in the improv, so we're all comedians, basically, and Joel, who plays Skull, he's a stand-up, actually, so yeah, we're all comedians, so it was all like, we're all making each other laugh, and, having fun. I take that back. I wrote it, produced it, financed it. I didn't have a lot of fun, I was the one tormented. But it was a good time. It's a good time.
You can definitely tell,
especially from my first feature.
You can definitely tell from watching it that it's made out of just pure passion. Like you can definitely get that vibe, which we definitely appreciated and related to.
That's exactly what it was. Andy and I moved to LA literally like a month apart, like in 1997. So we started improv. So we immediately had that bond and we became really good friends. We're still really good friends to this day. And Joel as well, a lot of those guys. And so we all kind of started at the same time. So, we kind of all came up together.
Yeah.
And it was all of our like first big film. I mean, we've done shorts and stuff like that, but like this is all of our first feature. So it was like, good times, just kind of all dove into it to have fun and try to make something, something the best we could.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
Have you watched it recently, just out of curiosity?
I haven't seen it in a while. It kind of makes me cringe, to be honest, a little bit, because like it was shot, well over, it was 2000. We shot it in 2002.
Yeah.
So it's been 15 years plus. So it wasn't even, there was no digital back then. It was all video, So like the quality of it doesn't look as good,
Yeah.
And like I watch it because I've grown, that was actually I learned how to make films and edit and everything on that film because I edited it myself.
Wow.
It took me a year and a half, I think, to edit it to finally get it done. Because I was doing it off and on while I was working and doing other things. But so that's why it really didn't come out for like 2 years because it just took me so long to get it done. But so now, that I've grown as an editor and a filmmaker, I like see so many things I wish I could have done or would have done differently and things like that. But, it's like it's a piece of history, my filmmaking history. I've seen clips of it. Like I'm putting together a new reel, so I'm like pulling clips from people, from Kristen and people like that to put in my reel. But I haven't like sat down and watched it all the way through. No,
it stands up.
Yeah, it totally holds up.
Well, when we saw the trailer, we were a bit like we were worried. We were like, but then it totally stood up, and we were like, oh, this is quite entertaining and good.
Yeah, I think no matter what something is shot on, if it has a good story, then you don't really care about what the camera was like or. The budget or anything.
Yeah, the practical side of me says that, but then the filmmaking side of me is like, you only had, a red camera or 5D, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You mentioned that Andy co-wrote the film with you.
Correct.
Do you think that it was unfair that then he cast himself in clearly the most likable role, much like Brad Pitt in 12 Years a Slave?
Well, no. His condition to write it, help me write it, was he was going to put himself in it. So I was like, okay, Sure, why not? He was one of my best friends. So yeah, that was fun. And that is Andy. Like, he is Phil, basically. That is him. So he just basically played himself. So we just kind of wrote himself in it. I mean, it is a little bit, kind of funny, he's like the lovable oaf, and that's kind of what he is, but yeah, no, that was the intention the whole time. I mean, we wrote it basically for all of our friends. There was not a part other than the lead of Maggie, like there wasn't a part that wasn't written for some of the people that we already knew. So it was, it was written with that in mind, that kind of communal spirit.
So you mentioned already that it was kind of based on the Kurt Cobain story. Is there anything based on your personal lives within the friendship group?
Other than the fact that we were all kind of friends, not really. No, it was more because I'm a big music fan. I was a big fan of Nirvana and all that. It was just kind of a more, and I played the lead. The Kent didn't do a stretch with the name there. And because I'm a wannabe rock star, so that was my way of like kind of putting myself in at least some kind of rock star mode. And I actually sung all the songs like on the soundtrack, like the closing credits song. I actually sung that and like recorded that.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I recorded there's quite a few songs I recorded. We were going to make a soundtrack at one point, but it didn't kind of materialize. But there's like three songs that I actually sung and wrote myself, and I recorded with a musician who was actually a friend of Joel's, who plays Skull.
Okay.
He had this musician friend, and I went over to his house, and he said, because I'd never sung before, so he said, you know what the best thing to do? Take a couple shots of liquor, and it'll loosen up your vocal cords. So that's exactly what I did. Like, I had a couple shots, and I was getting a little lit when I went and sung the songs. I just belted my lungs out, singing those songs.
That's what we did before this interview.
Living out my rock star fantasy. That movie, my filmmaking fantasy and my rock star fantasy. That's that movie.
Do you wish that Kurt Cobain met a fortune teller and chose life?
Yeah. I don't know if things would have been any different, actually.
You have mentioned her a few times now.
Mm-hmm.
How did you meet Kristen Wiig, famed for this podcast, Wigging Out?
Yes. I was wondering when you were going to get to that.
Yeah.
Are you guys wearing wigs, by the way?
Of course
we
are.
Your other show.
Of course we are.
Would you like to know what kinds of wigs? We're happy to talk about them.
Please do, yeah.
Okay, well, Shay is wearing a purple straight wig today. It's about shoulder length, and it has bangs that are just covering his eyes.
Nice.
And EJ is wearing a slight afro-y hair, so it's sticking out kind of like a bit longer than a regular perm, I would say.
Yeah. It's pretty
nice.
And what about yourself?
Nice.
Are you wearing a wig right now?
I know what I look like because I haven't had a haircut in a couple of months, so my hair is all shaggy and stuff right now. So, no, I'm not wearing a wig. I don't have any wigs.
What we would suggest is you cut your hair and turn that into a wig.
Turn it into a wig?
If it already looks like it.
I could do that, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did you come to meet Kristen Wiig? You said already you were in kind of the improv community over there.
Yeah.
Is that how you met her?
Yeah, there was actually another friend of Andy and ours that performed with us at the improv theater we performed at. He performed with her in a show. And at the time we were casting, like we were kind of putting our feelers out there for people to fill some of the roles. And he said, yeah, come check out doing this show with this girl named Kristen, this improv show. I think it was only the three of them that were performing in this show. And so Andy and I went and we saw her and met. I mean, she was brilliant, and we saw her and we loved her immediately. He said, yeah, come audition for the film. And she came in and she's such a natural, and that's what I really liked about her. It's like she just came in and she was just her, and she nailed the part immediately, and immediately was kind of ingratiated into the group. And the girl Erin, who plays Cassie, she was referred to us by Joel, who plays Skull. He had worked with her before. and she is actually on that new Kevin James show. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but she's like the lead on that. So it's kind of funny that two of the stars of my movie are like really big right now.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool. I'm happy for them.
Do you take some responsibility in, because you you directed them, you shaped them.
I take complete responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And it was funny with Kristen because what had happened was, after the movie wrapped and all that, I had to do some, kind of kept in touch and all that. She kept inviting me to her Groundlings show when she started the Groundlings with Melissa and all those people. And like an idiot, I never went. Because at the time I was heavy into editing the film, so I would work during the day and I'd come home and edit the movie, and I wouldn't go out or do anything. So like I missed all of this stuff, and then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, out of the blue, like we all get an email from Kristen saying, "Okay, hey guys, so I just want to let you know I'm moving to New York. See you guys again soon." And then lo and behold, a couple months later, I'm watching Saturday Night Live, and then boom, there she is. So I immediately called up Andy. It was like midnight. I'm like, dude, did you know that Kristen was on Saturday Night Live right now? Like, did we know this at all? Like, and he said, no, I got the same email. Like, wow. She said she was moving to New York, and she didn't say anything about Saturday Night Live. So it was just kind of one of those weird things. But she's like that. Like, she was very shy, and she was very quiet. She's very funny, but she's very kind of introverted. Like, I still see that when I watch her in interviews and stuff. I see that the Kristen that I knew, like she's very she's always laughing. Like if you saw that you watched the DVD,
the bloopers is mostly her.
The bloopers are all her, exactly. So that's pretty much her, So really happy for her. I mean, I'm really excited, that she broke out like she did. I mean, she's like one of the biggest actresses in the world right now. So it's kind of surreal, actually.
Are you surprised that SNL has not parodied Life, Death, and Mini Golf?
Yeah. I am so shocked. I think they should.
I agree.
Wouldn't that be cool?
It's a missed opportunity right there.
Tell me about it. And Kate McKinnon would play the lead. She'd play Maggie.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be awesome. And Bobby Moynihan would play Phil.
I think it's time for a reboot. I mean, it's been 15 years. I think that's normally the amount of time it takes for Hollywood to redo a film. It seems right.
Yeah.
I'd put Kenan Thompson as Skull, maybe.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Oh, I can see that. No, it'd have to be the goofy guy with the hair. What's his name?
Kyle Mooney?
Kyle Mooney, yeah, it'd have to be Mooney, I think. But we always joked about like the sequel would be like Skull like invents some kind of an interesting golf gadget, and he becomes like a multi-millionaire, and he and Debbie move into this nice big mansion, and then they find out that Skull like accidentally electrocutes himself on the base, and so they all gather at Phil and Debbie's new house for his funeral. And we'd make it like more of a comedy. Like we'd always joke about like what the sequel would be. Like who's going to be the next one to go?
I would totally watch that.
I'd love to make that. That actually sounds kind of interesting. Think about it, but to reunite the old gang, that would be really cool. Because I haven't seen a lot of those guys in a lot of years, actually. Andy, I've seen a lot, but
yeah. Well, if you make the sequel, please come back on the podcast and talk about it.
I absolutely will. Even if I don't get Kristen in it, because she might be too expensive now.
Oh, yeah, but she might be a bit out of budget now.
I'd feel bad for Phil, though. He'd be, like, without... That would be sad to see Phil without.
Yeah, I feel like, really, the sequel would have to be Debbie has died. And then everyone gathers.
That's a good way to kill her off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't afford Kristen, so we just killed her off.
Yeah.
And then Phil's like married to some 18-year-old or some 20-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
On set, did any cast or crew wear any wigs in the production of this film?
I did. Well, sort of.
Good.
I wore a little bit of long hair with the bandana, like in some of the scenes, like they said, I was wearing a bandana or whatever, so some of that hair was a wig. So yes, I wore a wig. I don't think anyone else did that I can remember.
That's fascinating, because I saw some of the P-Brains footage, and so that was a wig.
Yeah.
That's great.
What kind of material was it?
Oh my God, it's been so many years. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. I know it probably wouldn't be human hair because that kind of freaks me out to wear other human's hair. It kind of feels kind of weird. So it was probably like some cheap little 99-cent store wig or something we got,
Like I said, that's why you should make your own hair in a wig, because you don't get freaked out as much.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe. I don't know.
Sequel.
The sequel. I'll just have it longer.
You've done quite a few films now. And Road King is your latest one, where you've directed cast and crew in Bangladesh.
Bangalore,
Bangalore.
Yeah.
In a feature film. How was that?
Just like this. Literally, I was on Skype all night because they're 13 hours ahead of me. So they were shooting during the day, and I was sleeping during the day and shooting at night. And sitting at my computer on Skype, watching the monitor and kind of directing the actors. And it's all in language, too. So I had a really good first AD on set who was kind of helping me, with the actors and stuff like that, even though they all spoke English, but kind of helping me with the language and just kind of interpreting what I needed. And, it's also a third world country, so the internet's not great. So sometimes I wouldn't be able to be on Skype, so they would literally do a take, and then they would shoot it on their iPhones or on their phones and text it to me, and I'd have to watch it and text back, yeah, do it again and do this. And sometimes it got a little, slow and antiquated, but yeah, it's pretty much like this, It was interesting. It was definitely an interesting experiment, and it took us about a year to get it done because we were doing it off and on. We couldn't really ran out of money and stuff like that, but. And the edit was just finished. They just sent it to me a couple of weeks ago, so I haven't even been able to watch it yet. And we're hoping to have it released next year.
Excellent.
Yeah, we'll look for it.
If you Photoshop Kristen Wiig's face on one of the actors, we would definitely watch it.
Yeah, we'll put it on the podcast.
How about I do that on all the characters? It'd be really interesting because they're all Indian, obviously, so the color difference would be quite striking.
Yeah. That would be an interesting statement of some kind.
So you've got some, experience directing over Skype. How would you change our performance in this interview right now?
How would I change your performance?
Yeah, give us some notes.
Oh my God. Well, I can't see you, so it's kind of hard to know.
Our expressions are just grinning.
Oh, I bet they are. I'd say switch wigs. Maybe that'll help.
Okay, good.
Are you in the same room together?
Yes.
We are, yes.
Okay. I would say get up and do some jumping jacks and just keep the energy going.
It's been lovely chatting to you, Randy. Thank you for telling
us. You
too,
guys. Thank you.
Things about Kristen we didn't know.
Yeah, we appreciate you. We appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to seeing your next project.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, definitely once the show's done, send me a copy of it. I'd love to hear it.
Will do.
Absolutely.
If you make the wig out of your own hair, do send it.
Yeah, please send it.
You'll be the first to know.
Great.
You'll be the first to know.
All right. Well, thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
You
too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What side of the toast is mine? This one?
Yeah, that side of the toast is yours. Hello, welcome. You've caught us at our breakfast meeting.
Hello. We are eating toast. We're wearing wigs. Business as usual.
So you just listened to our interview with Randy Kent. It was very gracious and generous of him to come onto our podcast. We thank him very much.
This has been the second episode of Wigging Out. Thank you for tuning in.
Next week, the enigma with a stigma.
Stay tuned.